mistakes and wrong things can happen from the best of people like prophets and messengers. That's why the story of Adam, the story of Musa alayhi salam, Nuh alayhi salam, they're basically what they did correct and what some of the things that was not correct. Even the reprimanding of the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the story of Al-A'ma, the blind person, and so forth. Another thing that we have to understand that anytime we have a narration that it is ambiguous, something that's not clear about the person, and there is another narration about this person is so clear, we always understand the ambiguous, the thing that is not clear, in the light of what's clear, of their statements and their positions. Also, I want to say, we should not ever, when we read the paragraph of the scholar, make us muta'assib, extreme. Yani, sometimes in biography you find, or some people study the life of the scholars, they love the person so much that they became so extreme, so sensitive. There is people, you read for example some of the followers of Abu Hanifa or Shafi'i or Malik or Ahmed, they became too extreme in the way they treat them. Yani, when someone say نظر إلى الإمام أحمد تعدل عبادة سنة, just one look at Imam Ahmad equal to ibadah of 1 year, that's an extreme. When someone said, if anyone disagree with Abu Hanifa, may Allah curse him as many as the grain of the earth. لعنة ربنا أعداد رمل على من خالف قوله قول أبي حنيفة. That's an extreme. So we don't read these kind of stories to become too extreme as well because of how fascinated you are by the person. Also, I want to end with this. It is so important when you read a story from the scholars, rahimahumullah, or a statement, number one, to understand the circumstances, why he said that. Is it as an answer? Is it has to do with a specific situation? Don't just take it general. Sometimes some statement came as a form of answering question. So it's not a general statement. It was specific to that person, specific to this circumstances, specific to this situation. And also you have to understand the status of the person. And if I give you an example. Ibn Umar rahimahullah, somebody came to him and said, I love you for the sake of Allah. Ibn Umar said, and I don't love you for the sake of Allah. So somebody read this and he comes to you, I said to him, and I hate you for the sake of Allah. I don't like you for the sake of Allah. Habibi, ya Sheikh, Ibn Umar said that. I said, yes, but you're not Ibn Umar. If Ibn Umar said that, people will accept it from him. It's like a father figure, like grandfather figure, a very high. That's someone, no matter what, I would accept from him. But you, if you tell me that, I said, who cares? Get lost. So we have to understand the difference when you read. It's just not everything you think you are. Al-Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, khalas, you think that you're Izz ibn Abd salam. You're not. You have to understand the difference between the circumstances, the situation that they're living in, that why did he say that. So keep all of this in mind when you study the life of the scholar rahimahullah. So the way I'm going to go with this, I'm going to tell you a story about someone. Okay? But after I finish, I want you, we're going to spend about 8 minutes, 10 minutes together trying to drive to drive lessons from what you just heard. Okay? So, sisters and brothers. So after I finish, I'm going to, and please don't tell me he was smart. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about you. What did you learn from his life that's something we can apply to our life today? Is that cool? Are we good? Good? Sisters? That's fine? Okay, good. Our first person, his story starts with Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. Walking in the night in the mid-alleys of Medina, and he heard this conversation between a mother and her daughter. She said, add some water to the milk to make the quantity bigger. She said, I heard Umar said that's cheating. She said, and how Umar would know? He's not going to taste it. She said, but the Lord of Umar sees us and he knows. Umar heard that conversation and he marked the door. Not to arrest them next day. No. He came back home. He gathered his children. And he said, who among you is not married? Asim said, I am not married. He said, I have the perfect wife for you. Next day he goes to that door, knock on it, and he said, I want to ask for this girl to my son's Asim. And he married her to him. Umar saw a dream, and Umar, mashallah, his dream and vision are come true. And in his dream he saw that his son, he will have a son, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring so much justice through his son. So he said, that must be a son of a woman like this, who's so just, who's so fair, who fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much. And he married her to his son. She got pregnant, and he was expecting nothing but a boy, but Allah blessed them with a girl. And Umar radiallahu anhu was kind of shocked. He really was expecting the boy, that's what he saw in the dream. But he doesn't know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make his dream to come true. That woman, that girl, she was born to Asim, her name is Layla. And she is the one who later on will be married to Abdul Aziz from the royal family at that time, the Umayyads. And she will have a son, which is the grandson of Umar al-Khattab, which is Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, was born 60 Hijrah in Medina, the time of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. 60 Hijrah, that means 680. And he died, rahimahullah, in January 720 Hijri, which it means 101, 720. You know, so that means he lived a very short life, less than about 40 years old only, rahimahullah. This scholar grew up in a righteous house. His mother, as you see, she is the granddaughter of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu arda. His father, one of the most noble member of the royal family at that time, the Umayyads. And he used to be the governor of Medina. He was born in Medina, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. But what's really interesting about him, his father brought a tutor, a special teacher, to take care of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. His name is Kaysan. And he really was very firm with Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And not because you're like from a prince or your father is the governor, you're gonna get a slack. No, he was firm with him. One day, just to show you how firm he is, one day Umar ibn Abdul Aziz came late to the salah. So his teacher said, why are you late? He said, I was fixing my hair. He said, fixing your hair? He said, yes. And he asked him to cut his hair short, so it doesn't delay you anymore to the salah. And in that time, they used to have to braid their hair and to take care. He said, cut it short. And he did. So he was not only teaching him Quran, he was making sure that he pray on time, he comes and he made him memorize the Quran in a very early age. And he taught him how to be well-mannered, how to speak, how to talk to people, how to listen to people. And also, he studied under one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, which is Anas ibn Malik, and also studied under the children of the companions. For example, one of his favorite ones was the son of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Ubaydullah. And he used to say, if Ubaydullah alive in the time of me being the governorship will be easy to handle, because Ubaydullah is someone I always can refer to. I always can trust his advice. If he's with me, I can handle whatever challenge I face in this life. He loved him so much. He used to say, attending one of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's class more beloved to me than making 1,000 dinar, 1,000 pieces of gold. But he died while Umar ibn Aziz was just still young, rahimahullah. He also studied under Salim, the son of Abdullah ibn Umar, radiyallahu an Abdullah ibn Umar wa an Abi. In the beginning of his life, Umar ibn Aziz was very, very spoiled, if I may say. Lived a very luxurious life, born in the lap of luxury, and to the extent that it was said that he will wear a cloth worth 1,000 pieces of gold, or hundreds of pieces of gold, hundreds of dinars. And he will touch it. He said, they brought to him the clothes. And he said, you know what? It's okay. It's a little bit rough. Not the best of materials. That's the kind of growing up. He used to put perfume. He will walk in the street and people will say, oh, was here. Why? Because of his perfume. People said his perfume is very distinguished. They bring him clothes from different parts of the world. From Rome, from Yemen, from whatever, shoes from Yemen, known to be good shoes. And like very, very different upbringing. Even with this, he still memorized the Quran. He's still learning the knowledge. He studied hadith. But was not 100% committed yet to this in his basically early teenager time, rahimahullah ta'ala. Even though, don't misunderstand, he was not like someone who's like completely far away from. His mother said when he was about 10 or 11 years old, he memorized the Quran and he was seen crying. His mother said, why are you crying? He said, I just thought about death and what will happen to us when we are in our grave. And he made her cry with him. He used to say to his mother, listen carefully, he used to say to his mother, I would love to be like my khal, my uncle, Abdullah ibn Umar. Everybody speak about his knowledge. His mother said, you will be like him and you will be better. Rahimahullah ta'ala. Her husband was appointed to be the governor of Egypt. He moved to Egypt. Then he said to his wife, I can't live without you. You need to come to Egypt. Then she said, but I don't want to bring Umar ibn Aziz to Egypt. I like him being in Medina. I want him to learn, to be around the Prophet Masjid and around my family, not your side of family. Then they agree to leave him in Medina and she goes to Egypt. So he grew up in Medina under the care of his uncle and the special teacher that they assigned for him. And rahimahullah ta'ala stayed in Medina so he will have that righteous, environment and grow up in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's city. Umar ibn Aziz was have a typical Arab look, thin, rahimahullah ta'ala. He was thinly built, have a beard that is small, gentle. His face is a gentle face. His nose is like skinny, and he had a deep laid eyes, cheekbone sticking out a little bit, and he had a scarf on his forehead. Yet everybody says he looks handsome. It does not make him look like kind of strange or have a strange look on him. He was rahimahullah ta'ala tan, towards a lighter skin, have a very beautiful rough voice when he recited the Quran. And he also take care of his look, and he said he loved perfume and loved to smell good. He's also known to be very intelligent, have an excellent memory, memorize the hadith, memorize the Quran, rahimahullah ta'ala. I would like you to know some of the things that shaped his life. Number one, being a member of the royal family. Allowed him to know how the Umayyads, the royal family, the rich people live, the corruption and the good, the bad, and the ugly in that side of the world. Also give him access to a lot of information that average person will not have access to. Politics, understand to international things. All this happened to people who happen to be in power. Also, one of the things that have shaped his life growing up in Medina, his ties with his uncles, with that Sheikh Salih ibn Kaysan. From the beginning of his life, he was exposed to knowledge, to adab, to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to a life that is simple. He have still seen and witnessed that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam houses, it's still there. So he knows how simple life the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, not any kind of luxury or the thing that you see in that time common among governors and basically rich people. Also, when he was 26 years old, he was appointed as the governor of Medina. Then after that became the governor of Hijaz, when he was about 30 years old. And he became one of the most powerful governors, governor of the most important city in the Muslim world at that time. What this allowed, how this shaped his life, allowed him to have and to interact in another level with the scholars. A lot of scholars in Medina and Mecca and Hijaz, people come from all over the world for Hajj and Umrah. So he start meeting the scholars, talking to the scholars, tasking the scholars. That's why he started one of the first commission to document the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. As Al-Hafidh Al-Iraqi said in his famous poetry, وَأَوَّلُ جَامِعٍ لِلْأَثَرِ ابْنُ شِهَابٍ آمِرًا لَهُ عُمَرٍ. The first one who collected the hadith, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, by the order of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah ta'ala. And he pointed Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Also, another thing shaped his life. He witnessed a lot of political unrest, especially after the aftermath of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, and all the unsettled unrest. Basically, the Muslim Ummah just came out of that. He lived in relatively a political stability, okay? Even though there is a lot of a group like Al-Khawarij, the Kharijit, a lot of group from the Shia, from the Qadariyah specifically, came very famous and came up with all these bid'ah in his time. And he debated even some of them, rahimahullah ta'ala. So his jealous, his care for the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, for the correct aqidah, something was so clear in his life as a reaction to all these sects that appeared and became stronger in his time, rahimahullah ta'ala. Also, him being a governor, definitely that's something shaped his life. And he even moved to, he left his position as a governor from Medina and he moved to Damascus to live with his uncle. Why did he leave Medina? Was he fired or resigned? The historian said both, could be resigned and could be fired. But it seems to be a combination of both. Al-Hajjaj keep telling the Khalifa, by the way, Umar ibn Aziz is not a good person to be kept in Medina. Why? Everybody doesn't like the Umayyads and he hates Al-Hajjaj, run away to Medina to hide. Al-Hajjaj cannot reach out, he cannot capture them, he cannot arrest them because they're protected by Umar ibn Aziz. So the Khalifa want to get rid of that, sanctioned place for those who are not aligned with or not happy with the Umayyads at that time. Also, it's been said, one of the reasons that there is an incident happening, I want you to pay attention to this, because that made him realize how much power that he has. In his time, there is a man, his name Habib, the son of Abdullah ibn Zubair. Ibn Zubair had a conflict with the Umayyads. So this is the son of someone killed by the Umayyad, Abdullah ibn Zubair. He used to mention a hadith and narrations about the Umayyads, and the Prophet said there is people will come and will do this and all these tyrant rulers, and he used to apply them to Bani Umayyah. So Umar ibn Aziz arrested him, put him in jail. Then he said, bring him to me. He said, he is sick. He said, bring him, and they lashed him, this Khubayb. They lashed him. It looks like his wound get infected, he became more sick, and he said, put cold water on him to wake him up, bring him to me. I need him to come in front of me. They did that, he became more sick, he died. That death of Khubayb have changed the life of Umar Abdul Aziz. Many times it will be said to him, Ya Umar, you have done this and you have done that. Even right before he died, they told him, you done this and you done that, you the best person ever, you done. Then he would say to them, I see myself building so many roads and bridges to Jannah. But every time I build a bridge and a road to Jannah, I see Khubayb in the way. I don't know how I'm going to escape him in the day of judgment. Every time I see him in front of me. Until the end of his life, he never forget that. And after that, he said, that's it, I don't want to be a ruler anymore. And he went to Damascus, subhanallah, for him to become later on the Khalifa. The Khalifa was supposed to appoint his son, but his son was not as righteous as Muhammad al-Aziz. So he appointed his nephew, which is something completely against the norm. And he appointed Umar Abdul Aziz to be the Khalifa. And he became the Khalifa after that, the Caliph. One of the things that also have shaped his life, his family. He had an amazing relationship with his sons and wife. His wife is his dream girl. He said once to Rabi' al-Ra'i, he said, Inni li nafsan tawaqa. I am a big dreamer. I always have these hopes for great things. And one of my dream was to marry Fatima. Fatima is the daughter of the Khalifa. That his father-in-law is the one who appointed him to be the Khalifa after him. He said, I always want to marry this woman. He grew up in his uncle's house, so he knew Fatima when she was young. It's always my dream to marry her. And he married her. And if you look at their life, it's so amazing how close they were to each other. Even the love and the support. She was very supportive of him. He lived a very different, when he became a Khalifa, he said, that's it, no more luxury life. Actually, he asked her all her gold to be taken away, all her gold to be taken away, put in boxes and go to the Muslim treasury. And she did. After he died and her brother became the Khalifa, he would look at all these boxes and he opened it, he said the gold of his sister. He took it back to her. And she said, why did he take it away from you? She said, because my husband, he doesn't know if this gold something my father attained it in the halal way or haram way. He wasn't sure. So that's why he asked me to if I would give it up. So I give it up. So her brother said, okay, you can have it back. She said, ما كنت لأطيعه حيا وأعصيه ميتا. She said, I will not obey my husband when he was alive, then disobey him when he died. I'll stay faithful to his wish. And she didn't take it. A woman came to her house. She came all the way from Iraq, looking for the Khalifa, the Caliph. So she said, he's not here, but you can stay until he comes. So the woman who narrated the story, she said, I look at her house and there is nothing in her house. قال ما رأيت في شيء يسد عيني. I said, your house is empty. I came to your house to fill up my house. And your house is empty. So, one of his wives, she said, إنما أفرغ بيتنا ملء بيوت مثل بيتك. What have made our house empty, filling up houses like yours. Don't worry, when he comes, he will take care of you. The woman, she said, then after a little bit, دخل طيان. A worker, somebody working construction. And he was fixing part of the house. She said, تعجبت. I was surprised. She didn't put her hijab on in front of him. And I said, you know what? Keep your mouth shut. Maybe this royal family, rich people stuff, they don't care about hijab. You're here for something, just keep your mouth shut. فقلت اسكتي. I said, I'm not going to talk about it. قال فرأيتهما يتغامزان. I saw them looking at each other's, having eye contact, smiling with each other's, this lovey-dovey stuff, فقلت, that's it, I can't take this anymore. Said, Waylaki, what's wrong with you, woman? Your husband is the Khalifa and you're messing around with this construction guy? You know? Then she said, what's wrong with you? This is my husband. But for me, it just shows you the level of, even when there is a woman, a stranger, he still send these messages, I love you, I miss you, kind of, the eye contact, the smile. Then he basically told her, what do you want? She said, I am like this and that, I'm poor, I don't have money, and I have 5 children. Then he wrote for her a letter to his judge or the governor where she lives to help her. When she arrived to the governor where she lived in Iraq, some part north of Iraq, when he looked at the letter, he cried. And she said, what happened? He said, he died, the Khalifa. She said, oh, I hope you're still gonna honor his request. She said, yes, absolutely. SubhanAllah, even him benefiting people after he died, still his khair came to this woman. As for his son's impact, unbelievable. Do you know that Umar Abdul Aziz, that everybody knows Umar is a Zahid, a Sadiq? Do you know that Abdul Malik, his son, played a major role in making his father the way he is today, known to us today, or the way he was? His son used to advise him, his son is an amazing person when it comes, an ascetic and an avid worshipper. And he impacted his father a lot when it comes to Qiyam al-Layl, when it comes to fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he died during Abdul Aziz's time. Died in a very early age. And Ibn al-Jawzi has a whole book about the life of Umar Abdul Aziz's son, Abdul Malik. When he became a Khalifa and he was about to go to rest, his son told him, there is a lot of people outside. He said, we will look at it, we will deal with them tomorrow. And he said, and what will guarantee you, my father, that you will live until tomorrow? He said, let them in. That's the kind of son. Another son came excited and he said, yeah, my father, let's change everything those people have done. Let's basically build the ummah. Let's end all this injustice. Then he said, hold on. I would love to do that. But son, what the corruption that happened over years cannot be undone overnight. It will take also years to do that. But it will be good if we are able every day, this is the methodology, to revival a sunnah and to end a wrong practice. That would be good. And we solve one problem. نرد مظلمة. Anyway, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah talked about this on Umar. He said, there is no one among the tabi'een. His statement is an authority. Is Sahaba authority. But among the successors, no one is an authority except Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Imam Ahmad said. Maymun ibn Mahran was a great scholar. He said, we came to Umar to teach him. And soon we found out that we are learning from him. Sufyan al-Thawri and al-Shafi'i used to say, the Khulafa al-Rashideen, the godly righteous Khalifa are 5. And the 5th one is Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And Imam Ahmad and Shafi'i and others said that Imam Umar ibn Aziz is the Mujaddid, the one Allah he renewed the religion through him in the 1st century. What made him so special? Many things. Number one, he combined between power of government and knowledge. See, knowledge by itself is great, but it's not as effective as the power of the sultan, the power of government. Your words can travel to a certain extent, but the power of laws is much, much powerful. That's why Uthman radiallahu anh said, Inna Allah la yaza' bil sultan ma la yaza' bil Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal make change through a sultan, through government, way more than Quran. But also change through power, political power, and law only is not enough. You have to combine this with knowledge. You have to reach the hearts. You have to change people. But you have to understand that there is important. This ideal world that people will be just perfect by themselves is not true. You have to have law. You have to have rules in place. And that's something Allah have given him. Very few people in history were able to combine between both. Another thing made him so special, that he is an amazing ascetic person. First, he's young. You know, when you become older, and I can tell you that, I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to tell you that there's so many things I used to be so fascinated with in the past. Every year I get older, I don't have the interest for it. You know, for example, I love going fishing and get my kayak and go fishing. But you know what? As I get older, it's become hard to carry it and to put it in and to get to the, you know what? I'm too busy. I'm too lazy. You're getting older. You start, you know, naturally not inclining and reclining toward the dunya. But when you're young, it's not the case. He was very young. Also, like one of the people said, the real zahid, the real ascetic, is the one who have access to wealth, access to power, then he kick it away. But if you are, look, aslan, yani you have nothing. What's zuhd? MashaAllah, I'm zahid. I don't want to drive Mabach or Maserati or any one of these cars, you know. Alhamdulillah, I'm so happy with my, you know, my Hyundai. Yeah, because you're a loser. You don't have money. That's why you have, you know, Corolla. That's why you don't have money. It's not like you're Elon Musk, mashallah. No, man, I got in trouble. I was driven by a Hyundai. Okay, no. Okay, sorry. That's not the point. Anyway, so you know what? Because I don't have money. It's not like you're, mashallah, super rich and you choose that. And you, mashallah, you walk, you drive a bike, you use a bicycle. That's not the case. You know, when I know, for example, a brother in California, he was telling me, Sheikh, I used to change car literally every month or couple of months. And I change car like what? From Porsche to, you know, Lamborghini to, you know, every couple of months I'll change my car. And he's not a car dealer. No, he's rich, come from very rich. Then he became religious and his family said, no religion. Even though he's a Muslim family, they said no religion. They kick him out. He started walking, taking the bus, you know, his life becomes completely different. That's real ascetic. Rahimahullah ta'ala. Also, one time he even asked his wife for some money to buy grapes. He said, I wish I can eat grapes. I really would like to eat grapes, but I don't have money. Do you have any money saving? She said, no, we don't have. They said, how come you are the Khalifa and you don't have money to buy grapes? He said, Nasbir alayh. It's okay to be patient. We shall eat it in Jannah. I don't have the right to go just take money because I want to eat grapes. Rahimahullah ta'ala. Also, one thing about this man, he is unbelievably highly motivated. He has clear goals and he's so motivated to achieve these goals. And that's amazing about his life. For example, one of his goals was to document the Sunnah, to preserve the Sunnah. He did. He had the committee, he chose the scholars. You know, he used to say 100 dinar for anyone who will be full-time teaching hadith and teaching ilm. Then he gave anyone will be a full-time student, will be giving a salary to encourage people. And he said, go write books, I'll support you. Building schools, supporting the ulama. He used to send the scholars and the student knowledge to the cities where no scholars, to the Bawadi, to the area which is not a big civilized areas, like small town here and there. He knows what he wants and he takes the steps towards it. He's just not a dreamer, he's also a doer. He has big dreams, but he knows how to achieve it. One of his dreams was to change the economy. Look, in 2.5 years, they were looking for someone poor, deserves zakat, they couldn't find. They said, we couldn't find a single poor. in the Muslim world. They start sending the zakat back to him in Damascus. The governor of Egypt, the governor of Hijaz, said we couldn't find poor people. How did he do that? One of the things that we say, government spending. He cut that waste to the extent one of the shu'ara, one of the famous poet, came to him. Very famous. A poet, it means media. If he praised you, that became like, absolutely. Who's that person? Jarir. If you know anything about Arabic poetry, you know who Jarir is. One of the best person, like saying poetry in his time. He came to him. He said, I have nothing for you. He said, how come? I came here to praise you. Give me money. He said, no. He said, I have 7 kids. I need to feed them. He said, I can give you money for that, for being poor. He went outside and all the other poets waiting because Jarir is the best. He said, don't tell him you are a poet. He doesn't care about you. He only give al-fuqara. He asked how much it's cost us to put a new curtain for the Kaaba. They said that much money. قال لا إني أجعلها في الفقراء لستر أبدانهم أولى من ستر الكعبة. He said, I'm not going to waste that money in just buying a new curtain for Al-Kaaba. He said, I will use that money to provide clothes, not to clothe Al-Kaaba, to clothe the naked people, poor people in my government. Unbelievable. One of his goals is to establish justice, and there is no, I can't do justice to him, but I want to give you time to comment. Goal is to establish justice. Unbelievable. He made justice with everyone, starting with non-Muslims. He found that non-Muslims, for example, Ahl al-Dhimma, they pay tax. When they became old, they don't work. Okay? But they get nothing. But all these years, they've been paying taxes. So Umar said it's not fair. And he starts saying they should be giving what we call today like social security. So they start giving them money when they become old, and he said it's not fair to use them when they can produce and to disregard them when they cannot produce. And he said they should giving some money to help them to cover their expenses. In Morocco and north of Africa, he heard that Al-Barbar, anybody knows about Morocco and stuff like that, the Barbar, the Arabs, take their women as slaves. Umar ibn Abi said every single woman taken from Al-Barbar, and they known to be beautiful, he said should be freed. You ask for her hand from her father and pay her mahar, or she's free. It's haram because those are not slaves. You cannot take them as slaves. In Samarkand, when Muslims entered the city by a trick, they never give people the chance to 3 days. He said all the Muslim army should get out of the city and give it back to the people and give them 3 days in advance notice, because that's cheating. That's trick is not allowed. And the people of Samarkand became Muslim in all of them because of the amount of justice that they saw. The Barbar, it said they resisted Islam for years, for decades. When Umar came and he did that, about 100,000 of them became Muslims. Amazing. When it comes to justice, anybody took money, land doesn't belong to him, he returned it back. One thing make him very special, he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala much. His wife said, Umar did not pray a lot, did not fast a lot, but he fears Allah the most. That what made him special. One thing that also made him very special, in my opinion, that he surrounded himself with people that advise him, give him sincere advice. When he was the governor of Medina, he established something, Majlis al-Ashara, 10 people that he always referred to and consult them. He told his chief police, anytime you see me doing something not fair or I do any kind of injustice to anyone, when he became the Khalifa, hold me from here, from my clothes, like this, and say, wake up, don't do that. Don't hesitate to ever stop me from doing what is wrong. Your first goal, not to protect me from people who might harm me. What's your first goal? To protect me from myself. Not to do something that will harm me in the future. What a character. I said he cared about everybody in his government. Muslim, non-Muslim, old, young, righteous, not right, everybody, even animals. Do you know that he regulated how much you can put load on the animals? He regulated. He said how much the animal can carry, and he put that amount. He said you're not allowed to put any load more than this on the camel or the horse or the mule. Rahimahullah, he was poisoned. He died early age, poison. He brought the one who put the poison for him. He's one of his slaves. And he was, right before he died, he told him, you're paid to poison me, that's right? He said, yes. He said, how much they gave you? He said, 1,000 dinar. He said, you have to give this money back because they hire you to do something illegal, so it's haram for you to earn this money. So this money goes to the Muslim public. And you know what? You're free for the sake of Allah. You're not anymore a slave. And I want you to ride your horse and you go to the farther land. Because if I die, my children will kill you. And I don't want anybody to be killed because of me. And he let him go. They said he never asked him who paid him. We don't know who paid him. The historian said must be somebody from the royal family want to get rid of him quickly at that time. But they said why he never asked, because he wants his heart to stay clean. He don't want fitna. He said, I don't need to know. Then he gathered his children. And he told them, I had to make a choice between leaving you rich and take money that doesn't belong to me and make you rich, or leave you for Allah. He'd take care of you. If you are good, Allah will take care of you. If you're bad, at least I didn't leave money for you to use to do something bad. And he said, either after my death, you stay this way, not touching the public money, and you will enter Jannah. Or you don't care about halal and haram for your income and you end up in hellfire. He had 11 children. When he died, each one of them inherited 19 pieces of silver, dirham. Just as a comparison, the narrator for this story said, I also witnessed the death of Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, another person from Bani Umayyah. Also, he left 11 children. Each one of them, his share was 1 million piece of gold. He said, I lived long enough and I saw the children of Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, the one who inherited 1 million, each one of them. One of them was in the market begging, broke. And I saw one of Umar ibn Abdul's children donating 100 horse for the sake of Allah. Yani he became very wealthy. Then he told his children, you can leave. He called for a Christian person and he said to him, come. He said, I want to buy this piece of land and to use it as my grave. I want to be buried in this particular area. I love it. So the Christian person said, absolutely, it's next to a church. He said, we will love for you to be buried next to us. نَتَبَرَّكُ بِكَ. Yani there's a blessings in having you next to us, your grave. He said, no, I just want this place. I pay you. He said, no, free. He said, no. Anyway, he paid him. He bought the land for his burial. And Rahimahullah told the people, leave me alone, his children. And he was sitting only Raja ibn Haywa and some of the scholars were next to him. And he was reciting. He said, I see people, I see faces in the room, not human, not jinn, not scary. I never saw these faces before, which is the angels. As you know, before you die, you see the angels. Then he says, تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين. The verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this, Surah Al-Qasas 83, He said this, the akhirah will be for those who have seek no corruption on earth. And he closed his eyes with his own hand and he died, rahimahullah. He said in his will, when you put me in my grave, turn my face to the Qibla. And if it didn't turn to the Qibla, I refuse or something happened, please don't leave. Make a lot of dua for me until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept me. Raja ibn Haywa, the scholars, the Shaykh al-Imam Malik, he said, when I buried him, Allah's my witness, when I put him in his grave, he turned to the Qibla by himself. I didn't touch his face. Rahimahullah ta'ala. He left behind him a legacy that is an unbelievable. Unbelievable. He started with himself, with his family, with his children, with his wife, with his people close to him, expand the circle to the people around him in Medina, then farther and farther and farther. He took care of everybody. He didn't discriminate between people. You know, Umar ibn Aziz is one of the khulafa. He never declared war. He was not looking for an empire to expand his power. But he protected his border, and every governor and every king respected him outside the Muslim world. He was have a methodology of changing step by step, rahimahullah. By the way, one of the amazing thing he did, he encouraged people to get married. And he said, anyone get married, I will give them money if they don't have money. Any youth, young people want to get married, or a young woman, I'll give them money and until they be able to basically to support themselves, rahimahullah ta'ala. Anyway, I would like to hear from you what you think we can learn from his life for our life today. Let's see. I would like to see what's something that you heard today, something we can apply in our life today. Yes.
I really appreciate the step-by-step methodology change, because sometimes people get overly excited and want to change everything right now. It's not very sustainable. So,
Very good. Because of the microphone, he was saying, I love and I appreciate a lot the way that his methodology would change step by step. What's been corrupted over years cannot be fixed overnight. It's also going to take years and decades to change. Sometimes we just want instantly the change to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, for example, you see how much, for example, in our life here today, you see how much people are so sold into the Zionist agendas. For example, about Palestine and about Israel. This has been decades of work. It's not going to change overnight. It's not going to change because just one war. It's going to take, if you want, it's going to take also years to make that change. If you want the Muslims to be respected, to be powerful, it's going to take years. If you want to be the rights of the justice scales to be balanced, it takes years for change. It takes effort. It's not going to just happen like that. That's not how things change. If you see this bid'ah in the world, it's not going to change overnight. It took long time for bad change to happen. Also take a long time for good things to happen. Very good. But the most important is to take steps. And by the way, with regard to this, one of my teachers used to say, it's not about reaching the end of the road. It's about you dying on the road. يعني المهم ليس أن تصل إلى نهاية الطريق، المهم أن تموت وأنت في الطريق. The point is to die while you're in this path, not at the end of the road, not to the, because Anbiya, some of them come on the day of judgment, no followers. What else we learn? Yes. Very good. Surround yourself with people who will be sincere. الصديق من صدقك لا من صدقك. True friends is the one who tell you the truth. You know what? We need to advise one another. It's not about me telling what you want to hear. I'm here to give you what you need, not what you want. I give it to you in the way you like it. But I have to be honest. I have to be with each other's. We sincere to each other. Don't look for the people who said, yes, sir. Look for people who will really give you sincere advice. Will give you really the right advice. I'm amazed that some of the people that he asked them, they were so tough with him. Yani, when he asked, for example, Salim, Ibn Abi Salim, he told him, give me an advice. He said, Ya Umar, you looking for Jannah, that's right? He said, yes. He said, that Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take out of it someone because of one sin. Don't think you're going to enter it with a lot of sins. Be careful. He said, Wallahi, أنا أخاف. قال وأنا أخاف عليك ألا تخاف. He said, I'm always worried. I'm afraid. He said, I'm afraid that you're not afraid. If you're not afraid, I will be afraid about you. But that fear is good for you. And people were very straightforward. And he loves that. He doesn't mind that. Very good. Also, surround with people who will give you advice. Speaking of advice, know who you turn to for a good advice. Yani, don't look for the people who are completely will agree with you, like you know, in your levels. Look for someone, for example, you want a financial advice. You want religious advice. You want, ask for it. When is the last time that you went and you asked for a good advice from imam or sheikh or a friend or, tell them. We became like, you know what, I can handle. And I think it's important for us to seek advice and to surround ourselves with people who will advise us. Yes. One more. If the sisters, raise your hand, please, to see what's your also point. Yes, go ahead. Amazing. He said something we can learn from is the issue of caring about the environment of your children. How his mother cared about the environment. She doesn't want to live in an environment that can corrupt him. He wants to be environment that is important. I have a question for you. If I take a cucumber and I put it in a vinegar with salt, what this cucumber would be? End up? Pickle. Is going to be ever like a cake? It's going to be pickle. You put someone in an environment like that, it's going to be a pickle. So that's what it is. You understand that? Where are you going to put your children is going to be. Come. So make sure that you surround your children with the right environment. Invest in that. Even if there is a great sacrifice. Moving to another place, whatever costs associated with it, it's worth it. Very good. Also, you talk about the strong relationship with family. Happy wife is a happy life. That's right. Happy husband is also happy life. We have to care about our family has to be strong, especially we live here in America. We have to have a strong family. I can't do it. I can't do it alone. I have to. That's why you look to marry for someone. I always sigh, and I teach a course about marriage, and I said, you just don't look for someone that you can live with. You look for someone you can't live without. That's just not a fancy word. That's something you should believe in. I'm looking to marry someone I cannot live without. I can be basically somebody that really will be my, the person I rely on. Support me. He or she. And support me in what is right and correct me if I'm wrong. That family unit is important. Anybody else? Sisters, brothers? Anybody else? It's important, yes?
I think the scene of the poisoning, when he was speaking to the servant, practicality after accepting the qadr of Allah, which is khalas, he's not arguing about his death. But also seeing the best in someone who potentially the average person would not see any good in. And it is something that was through his faith or through his judgment, not just in that case. But for me, that specific scene is the ultimate manifestation because it applies to him. It's not an injustice that is applied to him.
Very good. You know, the issue of being poisoned and how he accept the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being, you know, alhamdulillah. And it's not about now revenge and grudges and anger and frustration. And you know what, alhamdulillah, I should focus on what's important, which is how to end my life in peace and good. And you know, that's so important for us as well, lesson to learn. You know, keeping your heart clean. Sometimes we dig. Wallahi, I'll tell you the truth. Today, just before Sheikh Haram come and pick me up, somebody was talking to me about somebody who posted something was not nice and stuff like that. Then somebody said, Sheikh, can you read it? I said, I don't want to read it. He said, why? I said, because I want to keep my heart clean. I love this person for the sake of Allah, and I know sometimes he posts something crazy and is not correct Islamically, but you know what? He's a young man and I don't mind, but I like to keep my heart clean. Because if I read it, I'm going to start disliking him. I'm not putting my head in the sand. I know what it is. But go into the details. Sometimes it just make you, in Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, don't tell me what people say. Because I want to come out to the masjid while my heart and mind clean and clear. Sometimes we need to learn how to do that. You know what? We need to learn how to forgive or forget. No, sorry. They said forgive and forget. I say forgive or forget. Yani, if you can't do both, do one of them. Learn how to let it go and move on. Beautiful. Anybody else? At the back? Yes, brother. So he was a just ruler. And I think the lessons here, any one of us can be in a position of responsibility. In Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, each and every one is responsible. You might not be the governor, you're not going to be the president of the United States, but you are a manager. You are in charge of your family. You are in charge of maybe a group of employees, maybe in charge of a madrasa, you're in charge of a committee in a masjid, maybe an organization. You know what? I found it so interesting. Those people who always complain about unjust ruler and, you know, dictatorship, they themselves, when they are in a position of power, they practice dictatorship to the clearest form, with their children, with their family, with their employees, with their business, with their institutions, you know, that they run. And it is very sad. And justice starts with yourself, it starts with the people around you. Just as the virtue is not only limited to rulers who are on the top of the chain, it's also a virtue that should be applied to each and every one of us in their area. Also, we have to understand, it is so important for society to be based on justice. If we want a society like in the United States, we should not give up on the importance of social justice and the importance of all these kind of form of justice. It's so important to keep that. Because that's asasul mulk, that's the asas, the foundation for any stable society. Quickly before we end, clarity of goals. It's so important to have clear goals in life. You know, living without goals, I don't know what to call it. You know, what is your favorite sports here? Soccer? Anybody else? Football? Basketball? Hockey? Okay? Can you imagine these games? Take the goals out and the court, basically the ring out of the basketball. No basketball ring, no goals. We just pass the ball to each other. What do you think of these games? We're not going to have NBA. We're not going to have NFL. We're not going to have any one of these, like, you know, famous league. That's right? You agree? Will be the most boring games ever. That's exactly how your life without goals. The most boring life. It's so boring. Because there's no goals. Goals are so important. And you have to have high goals. Aim for the moon, they say. Because if you miss, you land on one of the stars. He is highly motivated. He aimed high. Rahimahullah. He said, I always want to be a Khalifa, and I became a Khalifa. He said, I want to marry Fatima, and I married Fatima. I want to separate, to gain the knowledge, and he gained the knowledge. He very high goal. I want to be like my Khal, Abdullah ibn Umar. And guess his mother said what? No way. No, she said, you will, and you will be even better. That's people very aiming high. And this mom is, you have to have this clarity and goals, and to, get a big goals in your life and work on them. Just don't be just a dreamer, but doer. Know how you achieve these goals. That's an important lesson to learn from his life. And focus on your goal. You know what? Interestingly enough, I give this talk, similar to this talk, in a church. I talk about Abdul Aziz in one of the churches. So the guy came to me after the class or the talk, and he said, I love the stories about Abdul Aziz and the lessons that you shared. And I want to share with you something. Then he took his wallet and he showed me a very old piece of paper. He said, I wrote this paper decades ago. And I identified in these papers 5 goals I want to achieve. One of them to buy a house by the beach. One of them to do this, to travel the world. I forgot what, 5 things. He said, this paper always in my wallet. Every time I want to make a decision, financial decision or anything big, I look at these 5 goals and I ask myself, doing this will help me to achieve these goals? Yes, I do it. No, I let it go. That's why I achieved all my goals a long time ago. It helps you to focus. And goals not only related to individual, you, family, community, masjid, society, and you go up in the chain. It's so important to be goal-oriented and to be highly motivated about it. Umar Abdul Aziz was a great leader. I found in many American institutes, many masajid and many organizations, I saw a great managers, but very few great leaders. A lot of good managers, managing skills, but not leadership skills. There's a big difference between managers and leaders. Managers, they take credit. Leaders, they take responsibility. Managers, they have employees. Leaders, they have followers. Managers, they tell. Leaders, they sell. Managers, they give orders. Leaders, they persuade. They convince you. Manager, they have power over people. Leaders, they practice power with people. There's a big difference between manager. Manager, they have to explain. While leader, they energize. Managers, they inform us. While leader, they inspire us. And I can go on. Managers, they try to impress. While leader, they influence. Manager, they react to change. Leader, they make change. There's a big difference between being a good manager and a good leader. We need both, by the way. And everybody should know where his and her strength is. But Umar Abdul Aziz really was an inspiring leader. And I hope this will inspire us to think about how to become good leaders. I always say to myself, I should not take all the time to talk about Abdul Aziz because I have failed. Every time I talk about him, I just have so much to say. I can tell you the amount of information that I prepare for you is way more than what I said. I had 2 women to talk about their lives today, but I'll keep that for another time, inshallah, or we talk about a great 2 women, like their life were amazing and inspiring and lessons that we can learn. But you guys, mashallah, share wonderful lessons and points. May Allah subhanahu reward you. In the end, I want to say, inshallah, 2 weeks from now, the good news is I'll be back to Seattle. I'll be back again to Seattle to teach a course, but this time I will have a little bit of time from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday. And it will be in MAP, Redmond, inshallah. So this course will be, it's called Summoned. It's about the day of judgment, when Allah summoned you to come to meet Him. From the moment the person die until the person goes to the standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and go to the person, inshallah, all of us end up in paradise. And it will be a detailed discussions, a theological, like from a theologian perspective, and what the Muslim theologians talk about these issues, and the issues related to the resurrection, to the gathering, and it has a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, a lot of inspirational, soft-heartening talk, and also a lot of interesting discussion on where the soul goes and things of that nature. And I'm just playing this video, just maybe a minute, for you to watch about what is it. So please make sure that you join us in the Maghrib class, inshallah, next week. Go ahead. It's not the coming weekend, the following weekend. Not this Saturday, the next Saturday. September 21st. I'm in the capital of tech. It's okay if you cannot play. Don't worry about it. No worries. Yeah. Maybe we will post it in your some of your social media. You can watch it in your own, inshallah ta'ala. Yes, brother. Why Umar Abdul Aziz did not weigh jihad on his time? Because, first of all, nobody attacked the Muslim world. So if nobody attacking you, nobody making a threat to you, you don't have to fight them. That's one. Two, he also looked at the need, and the most important need at that time is to fix the ummah. There's so much interest in expanding the ummah, but not, the ummah become weak. So many bid'ah, so many innovations, so many change in the life of Muslims. And he believed that what makes the ummah great is not the war. It is basically the ability to make this ummah strong is when this ummah live what they believe, when they apply what they believe in their lives. So, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said in Zad al-Ma'ad, never started a war in his life sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He only fought those who fought him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And as long as people open to the da'wah and to not hostile to Muslim, you don't need to engage in a war. And that's exactly what happened. There's only one incident during Umar time where somebody made a threat, and Umar said, if you do what you said you're going to do, I will have an army that as many as that can fill the distance from my place to your place. And then that was enough to tear that ruler and to stay away from making any real threat to the Muslim. That's maybe leading another discussion. A lot of people on the issue of jihad, they don't understand this. Al-jihad is a mean, is not a goal. A lot of people think al-jihad is a goal, but it's not a goal. It's a mean. So if you can, it's a mean to reach something. If that thing you can reach without fighting, you don't need to fight. So a lot of people think of jihad, or some people introduce jihad, thinking that it is a goal. It's meant for itself. But that's not how the Sharia put it, and not how the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ clearly stated. But that's bigger discussion. Good question.